The line at airport security was crawling forward. Tired faces, beeping scanners, frustrated sighs. Danielle Harris, a 41-year-old attorney, adjusted her blazer and placed her laptop in the tray. She had a morning flight to Washington, where she was scheduled to deliver a keynote speech on civil rights and equality in public service. Ironic, right? As she stepped through the metal detector, the alarm beeped. The officer on duty frowned. "Step back, ma'am." She did. Calm. Cooperative. But the way he looked at her, like she was already guilty, made her stomach tighten. "Empty your pockets," he ordered. "They're empty," she replied softly. He waved the scanner aggressively. "Ma'am, I said empty them." "I did," she repeated, a little louder now. He leaned in. "Don't raise your voice at me." Heads turned. Travelers stared. Danielle's hands shook slightly. "I'm not raising my voice. I'm just—" "Step aside," he barked. "Now." Her cheeks flushed. She moved as instructed. People whispered. Some pulled out phones. Then, just as the officer reached for her bag, a deep voice echoed from behind the checkpoint. "Officer Jacobs, what on earth do you think you're doing?" The room froze. Because the man who'd spoken wasn't just another security guard. He was the head of airport security, and the woman Officer Jacobs had just yelled at was someone he knew very well. Danielle stood motionless as the crowd watched. The officer stiffened when he recognized the voice. "Director?" he stammered, straightening up. Director Samuel Green, tall, calm, authoritative, stepped through the metal detectors with slow, deliberate strides. "What's going on here?" he demanded. Jacobs swallowed hard. "This passenger refused to comply with security protocol, sir." Green turned to Danielle. "Ma'am, is that true?" She met his eyes, calm but furious. "No. I followed every instruction. I emptied my pockets. I removed my laptop. I even took off my shoes." Jacobs interrupted. "She got loud, sir. I was de-escalating." Green's expression hardened. "De-escalating by yelling?" Jacobs hesitated. She was being uncooperative." Danielle took a slow breath. "Uncooperative? Because I asked you to stop yelling at me?" Murmurs rippled through the line. Green raised a hand. "That's enough. Ms. Harris, would you step over here, please?" She nodded, stepping aside. Green turned to Jacobs, his tone quiet but sharp. "Do you have any idea who this is?" Jacobs frowned. "No, sir. Just another traveler." Green exhaled through his nose. "This traveler is Attorney Danielle Harris, keynote speaker for the Federal Civil Rights Council. She's here on invitation from the Department of Homeland Security." Jacobs' face went pale. Green looked at Danielle. "Ma'am, please accept my personal apology. This is unacceptable." She nodded slowly. "I appreciate that. But I'd like to understand something." Her tone was steady, measured, the way only a seasoned lawyer could deliver. "Would he have spoken to me like that?" she asked. "If I looked different?" The silence in the room was deafening. Jacobs opened his mouth. "Ma'am, I wasn't." She stopped him. "Don't ma'am me. You yelled at me in front of 100 people. You didn't even check before assuming I was a problem." Green said quietly. "Officer Jacobs, step into my office. Now." He turned back to Danielle. "I assure you, this will be addressed immediately." She gave a small, tired smile. "Thank you. But this isn't about me. It's about what happens when authority forgets respect." He nodded solemnly. "You're right." Before she left the checkpoint, a woman nearby whispered, "Good for you." Another added softly, "I'm sorry you went through that." Danielle smiled weakly. "It happens more than you think." Then she picked up her bag, walked to her gate, and sat down, trying to steady her shaking hands. But the story was far from over. Because someone had filmed the entire thing. By the time Danielle's flight landed in Washington, the video was already online. Title: Airport officer yells at black woman, then his boss steps in. The clip went viral overnight. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. He had no idea who he was talking to. She handled that with class. That boss deserves a raise. Major news outlets picked up the story. The airport released a public apology, and Officer Jacobs was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Danielle didn't want revenge, she wanted reflection. She addressed the incident in her keynote speech the very next day. "What happened to me wasn't about one officer," she said. "It's about a culture that assumes authority gives you permission to disrespect." She paused, scanning the room. Dignity isn't situational. It isn't earned by status, and it isn't revoked by bias. It's a right, and the day we forget that, we lose more than professionalism. We lose humanity. The audience rose to their feet. A standing ovation that lasted nearly 2 minutes. A week later, Director Green held a press conference of his own. Standing beside Danielle, he announced a new initiative. Respecting Uniform. A training program designed to re-educate all airport security staff on bias, de-escalation, and respect under pressure. No traveler should ever feel smaller because of someone else's authority, he said. What happened that day won't happen again, not under my watch. Danielle smiled. That's what accountability looks like. As reporters clicked cameras, Green turned to her and said quietly, "You didn't just make a point that day. You made a difference." She replied, "It's not about going viral. It's about making it right." Months later, Danielle still got stopped by people in airports. Some thanked her for speaking up. Others simply said, "I saw your story. It gave me courage." She always smiled and said the same thing. Respect isn't a request. It's a standard. Officer Jacobs later wrote her a letter, a genuine apology. He admitted he'd let stress, bias, and assumption cloud his judgment. Danielle forgave him. Because forgiveness, she said, wasn't weakness, it was closure. Her words at a later interview summed it up perfectly. "You can't control how people treat you, but you can control what you teach them in return. If you saw someone in authority misuse their power, would you speak up or stay silent? Comment your answer below. Your voice might inspire someone to stand taller next time. If you believe respect should always outrank authority, hit like, share, and subscribe for more stories where courage meets conscience. Because sometimes, the loudest voice in the room is the one that stands up for what's right.